Universe Signs, Script Part 1, 10th, The Awakening. When the universe begins to speak, have you ever felt that something was trying to get your attention? Not through words, but through impossible coincidences, recurring patterns, dreams that seem like warnings from another plane of existence. Welcome to the first chapter of a journey that will completely transform the way you see reality. My name is In the Shadows, and over the next 10 episodes, I will reveal secrets that have been kept hidden for millennia. Secrets about how the universe communicates with you, constantly. There is a language that predates words, a language that our ancestors understood perfectly, but which has been systematically erased from our collective consciousness. Not by accident, but by design. Think about it. Ancient civilizations built impossible monuments, perfectly aligned with distant constellations. They predicted eclipses with astonishing accuracy. They navigated oceans following signs invisible to modern eyes. How? Because they knew how to read the language of the universe. This language hasn't died. It's just fallen asleep inside you. And when it starts to awaken, everything changes. Block 2. The first signs. The signs begin subtly. So subtle that your rational mind dismisses them as mere coincidence. But there is no such thing as coincidence. There is only synchronicity, a term Carl Jung used to describe events that are significantly related but have no apparent causal connection. You look at the clock and it's always 11:11, 22 e 22. 3 e 33, repeated numbers that seem to haunt you. Your mind sees. It's only because you pay attention to those times. But what about when those numbers appear on license plates, on receipts, in addresses of places where important events happen? Or maybe they're animals? An owl appears 3 nights in a row on the same post in front of your house. A raven lands on your window at the exact moment you think of someone you haven't seen in years. A black cat crosses your path before every important decision. Modern science has taught you to ignore these patterns, but your ancestors knew when nature behaves unnaturally, the universe is screaming. Block 3. The breakdown of reality. Let me tell you something that will make you question everything. In 2019, a quantum physicist named Thomas Campbell published disturbing data on consciousness experiments. He demonstrated that reality behaves differently when it is being observed. Literally, as if the universe were responsive. This is not mysticism. It's quantum physics. The double-slit experiment proved that subatomic particles change their behavior based on whether or not they are observed. The conclusion is inescapable. Consciousness affects physical reality. Now extrapolate from that. If your consciousness can affect particles, why couldn't it affect events? Why couldn't the universe respond to your thoughts, your questions, your deepest fears? Block 4. When the dead whisper. The most disturbing signs come from those who have already passed away. I'm not talking about ghosts or cheap hauntings from horror movies. I'm talking about something much deeper and more inexplicable. You lose someone important. In the following days, that person's favorite song plays on the radio every time you get in your car. You find objects that belong to them in impossible places. A pen you were sure you'd thrown away turns up on your desk. You smell a specific perfume during moments of distress. Psychology calls this pathological grief or comforting illusion. But what happens when other people also notice? When your music plays on a friend's phone who didn't even know about this connection? When the perfume is smelled by someone who never knew the deceased person? Block 5. The fear of knowing. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. You already know all of this is real. Deep down, in the place where your intuition lives, you've always known. But acknowledging it is terrifying. Because if the signs are real, then you have a responsibility. You can no longer pretend to be a passive spectator of your life. If the universe is communicating with you, it means you are connected to something much bigger, and that connection demands action. Ignoring the signs has consequences. How many times have you felt that tightness in your chest before making a bad decision? That inner voice saying, don't do it. That warning dream you dismissed upon waking, and you ignored it. And then you regretted it, thinking, I knew it. I sensed something was wrong. Block 6. The invitation, this is just the beginning. In the next 9 parts of this series, I will reveal the 33 universal signs you're ignoring every day, how to interpret prophetic dreams and distinguish them from ordinary dreams, the truth about repeating numbers and sacred geometry, ancient techniques to amplify your receptivity to signals, the phenomenon of dark warnings and how they saved lives, synchronicities that defy the laws of probability, and something that has never been publicly revealed. The Observer Protocol, but I need to warn you, once you learn to see the signs, you can no longer unsee them. Your reality will never be the same again. Some people call it an awakening. Others call it a curse. Closing the universe is speaking to you right now. While you watch this video, signs are happening all around you. Pay attention over the next 24 hours. Write down every strange coincidence, every unusual pattern, every inexplicable premonition, and come back for part 2, where I'll reveal the 3 types of signs that precede radical life changes and how to distinguish warnings from threats. The question isn't whether the universe is speaking. The question is, are you ready to listen? Prompt para imagem. Esta parte serve como introdução à série, estabelecendo o tom misterioso e convidativo. Ela explora conceitos como sincronicidade, referenciando Carl Jung de forma precisa, mas simplificada, números repetidos, animais como mensageiros e influências quânticas, citando Thomas Campbell e o experimento da dupla fenda, mas extrapolando para a consciência, afeta eventos sem base científica rigorosa. A narrativa usa a retórica persuasiva para criar urgência, segredos ocultos por milênios, apelando ao medo de ignorar sinais e prometendo revelações futuras. Estrutura bem dividida em blocos, com exemplos anedóticos para engajar emocionalmente. Crítica mistura ciência real com especulação mística, podendo enganar espectadores leigos. O tom conspiratório apagada da consciência coletiva por design pode atrair teorias da conspiração. Consistência estabelece o arcabouço para as partes seguintes, listando temas a serem explorados. Prompt para imagem ultra-realista, ultra-realistic image of a person standing in a dimly lit bedroom at night, staring at a digital clock showing 11:11, with subtle ethereal glow around repeating numbers like 20 to 22, on nearby objects such as license plates and receipts scattered on a table, evoking mystery and synchronicity, soft moonlight filtering through window, highly detailed skin textures and shadows, cinematic lighting, 16:9 aspect ratio, 4K resolution. Universe signs, script part 2/10, the 3 types, warnings, threats, and portals. You're back. That's a sign in itself. Of the thousands of people who watched part 1, only a fraction return. Not out of lack of curiosity, but out of fear. Fear of what they'll discover. Fear of confirming what they've always suspected in the last 24 hours. Have you noticed anything different? Numbers that repeat themselves. Objects out of place. That feeling of déjà vu that lasted a few seconds longer than it should have? Write it all down, because at the end of this 10-part journey, you'll look at these notes and notice a pattern that will keep you up at night. Welcome to part 2. Today we're going beyond the surface. We're going to delve into the 3 types of signals the universe uses to communicate with you. And I'm going to teach you the difference between a gentle warning and a final threat. Block 1. The taxonomy of the invisible. Not all signs are the same. This is the first truth that the ancient mystery schools taught to initiates. There is a hierarchy, a structure, a specific language that the universe uses depending on the urgency of the message. Imagine the universe as a conscious being trying to communicate with you. First, it whispers. If you ignore it, it speaks louder. If you continue to ignore it, it shouts. And if you still don't listen, it acts. The ancient Celtic Druids categorized these signs into 3 fundamental types: the whisper's gentle warnings, the voice's clear threats, and the gaitch's moments of irreversible choice. Each type has specific characteristics, frequency of occurrence, and consequences when ignored. And here's what nobody tells you. You've already received all 3 types. Multiple times. And the decisions you didn't make based on those signs have shaped your entire current reality. Block 2. Type 1 whispers, gentle warnings. Whispers are the most common and most ignored signs. They appear as subtle coincidences, fleeting intuitions, small anomalies that your rational mind instantly dismisses. Documented real-world examples. A woman named Sarah, from Portland, woke up at 3:33 a.m. for 3 consecutive days. On the third day, she decided to check her emails at 3:33 p.m. and found a job offer that changed her life. She almost deleted it without reading it, but something made her pause. A man in Tokyo kept finding coins on the ground for 2 weeks. Always on his way to work. Always 10 yen coins. On the 14th day, as he bent down to pick up another coin, he narrowly avoided being hit by an out-of-control cyclist. Coincidences? The whispers work like this. They create small deviations in your routine behavior. A second of pause. A change, of course, a seemingly insignificant decision. And this micro-alteration puts you in the right place at the right time, or removes you from the wrong place at the wrong time. Characteristics of whispers. They appear in series of 3, 7, or 9 occurrences. They are never threatening, just persistent. They involve elements of nature or numbers. They create a feeling of, I should pay attention to this. If ignored, they simply cease to exist. But so do the opportunities. Block 3. Type 2. The voices clear threats. When you repeatedly ignore the whispers, the universe changes its strategy. The voices are not subtle. They are disturbing, impossible to ignore, and carry an intense emotional weight. The voices manifest themselves as recurring dreams with obvious symbolism. These aren't confusing dreams, they're clear messages. You dream that you're driving and the brakes fail. 3 nights in a row. On the 4th morning, you take the car to the mechanic and discover that the braking system was about to collapse completely. A visceral premonition that paralyzes you. You're about to board a plane and an inexplicable wave of panic hits you, so strong that you can't take the next step. You miss your flight. 2 hours later, you find out there was a serious emergency on that flight. Direct physical interventions, objects fall for no reason. Doors close on their own. Alarms go off without cause. Your body reacts, sudden nausea, dizziness, or that primal feeling of imminent danger that makes your blood run cold. A documented case from 2018. Marcus, an engineer from Chicago, woke up at 2:47 a.m. with the absolute certainty that he needed to leave the house. No logical reason, just pure terror. He woke his family and they left. 15 minutes later, a gas pipe exploded in the house next door, destroying both residences. Investigators never found an explanation for how he knew. Block 4, Type 3. The portals, moments of choice. And then there are the portals. These are the rarest and most powerful. A portal is not a warning or a threat. It's a quantum crossroads, a moment where multiple timelines collide and you have to choose which path to follow. Portals are recognized for impossible synchronicities happening simultaneously. You think of someone you haven't seen in 10 years, and that person calls you at that very moment. While you're on the call, you receive an email about an opportunity related to that person. While you're reading the email, a song that marked your friendship plays on the radio. This is not a coincidence. It's a portal opening, a sensation of distorted time. Minutes seem like hours. You enter a state of hyper-awareness where every detail becomes vivid. Colors are more vibrant, sounds are clearer. You feel like you're in a bubble separate from normal reality. Multiple people are validating the inexplicable. It's not just you noticing. Everyone around you feels that something strange is happening. It's as if an invisible energy field surrounds that specific moment. Historical example, in 1912, at least 55 people canceled their tickets on the Titanic in the final days before boarding. Many reported disturbing dreams, inexplicable premonitions, or coincidences that prevented them from boarding. They recognized a portal and made the right choice. Block 5. How to distinguish paranoia from intuition. Here's the problem. Your brain can deceive you. Anxiety can mimic intuition. Fear can seem like a premonition. So how do you distinguish a real signal from a false alarm? Genuine signs have 3 infallible characteristics. Specificity. A real sign isn't vague. It's not a general feeling that something bad is going to happen. It's specific. You feel that you shouldn't take that road, or you shouldn't trust that person, or you should call your mother right now. Persistence without obsession. Real signs return but don't consume you. They appear, nudge you, and allow you to live normally. Paranoia consumes you 24/7. Intuition visits you at specific moments. Calm, uncertainty. When it's a real sign, you feel a strange calm along with urgency. It's as if a wiser part of you knows exactly what to do. Paranoia comes with mental chaos. Intuition comes with quiet clarity. Block 6. The price of ignoring. I'm going to tell you something that will hurt. You've ignored critical warning signs before. We all have, and we pay the price. That toxic relationship you entered despite all the red flags. That investment you made even with that knot in your stomach. That trip you insisted on taking despite the whispers, the voices, and even the portals telling you to reconsider. The universe doesn't punish, it simply allows you to experience the consequences of your choices. But here's what few understand. These consequences aren't punishments. They're lessons, course corrections, ways to put you back on the path you should be on. Sometimes, ignoring a sign leads to suffering, but that suffering transforms you into the person you need to be to receive what comes next. The point isn't to avoid all suffering, it's to learn to distinguish between necessary suffering and avoidable suffering. Block 7. The 72-hour exercise. Here is your task for the next 72 hours. Carry a small notebook or use your phone's notes app. Write down every coincidence, every hunch, every intrusive thought about someone or something. Don't judge, don't analyze yet. Just record it with the time and date. Pay special attention to numbers that appear repeatedly, animals that behave in unusual ways, technology that fails at specific times, people from the past who come to mind. Dreams, you remember when you wake up, music that plays at synchronized moments after 72 hours. You'll have data. And in part 3, I'll teach you the Ejol decoding technique that will transform those random notes into a clear and coherent message. Closing now, you know, not all signs are the same. Some whisper, somi, shauchi. Some open portals to alternate realities. The question you should be asking isn't, is this real? The question is, what kind of signal am I receiving right now? Because I can guarantee you're receiving at least one of these 3 types at this very moment. In part 3, we delve into more dangerous territory. The signs that come from your dreams. You'll learn the difference between an ordinary dream and a prophecy. You'll discover why some people dream about events before they happen. And I'll reveal the forbidden technique that Tibetan monks use to induce prophetic dreams. But be warned, this technique comes with risks. Once you open certain dream portals, things can come right back through. See you in part 3. And don't forget, write everything down for the next 72 hours. You'll need it. Universe Signs, Script Part 3/10, The Time Paradox. When your future alters your present, have you ever had such an intense feeling of déjà vu that it seemed like you had already lived that exact moment before? Not just a resemblance, but the absolute certainty that you knew every word that would be said, every movement that would happen. Science calls this a neurological glitch. But what if I told you that déjà vu isn't a glitch? It's a leak? A temporal leak where your future bleeds into your present. Welcome to part 3. Prepare yourself. What I'm about to reveal will shatter your linear understanding of time. Block 1. The theory that changed everything in 2022. A group of physicists from the University of Queensland published an experiment that confirms something impossible. Subatomic particles can send information to the past. Not theoretically, experimentally. They measured it. The experiment demonstrated that when you observe a particle in the present, that observation affects the behavior of that same particle in the past. Causality, the idea that the past causes the future, was broken. The future can cause the past. Now scale that up to human consciousness. If particles can send information back in time, why couldn't your future consciousness do the same? Why could you and you, the you of 5 years from now, be trying to alter decisions that the current you is about to make? Block 2. Retrotemporal signals. There is a specific type of signal that doesn't come from the external universe. It comes from within yourself, from your future self, who has already lived through the consequences of the choices you are making now. These signs have unique characteristics. First, they are incredibly specific. They are not vague intuitions, they are precise details about situations you haven't yet experienced. Second, they come accompanied by a visceral emotion that doesn't make sense in the current context. You feel deep dread of a situation that seems harmless, or you feel an inexplicable attraction to something that contradicts all your logic. Third, and most disturbing, they often manifest as memory errors. You are absolutely certain that something happened one way, but everyone around you says it was different. You remember conversations that never took place. You recognize places you've never been. This is not madness. It's temporal interference. Block 3. The case of the woman who saved herself in 2018. A psychologist named Dr. Elena Rostova documented an extraordinary case. A patient, let's call her Maria, sought help because she was experiencing impossible memories. Maria swore she had died in a car accident 3 years earlier. She remembered every detail: the date, the location, the impact, even the sensation of dying. But obviously, she was alive. Everyone said she had never been in an accident. During therapy, Dr. Rostova discovered something shocking. Maria had completely changed her routine exactly 3 years before these false memories began. She had changed jobs, moved to a different city, altered her daily commute. All for no apparent reason, just inexplicable impulses. When they compared the dates, the pattern became clear. The changes Maria made happened exactly at the moments that would have prevented the accident she remembered. It was as if the trauma of dying in the future had leaked into the past, forcing her to alter her trajectory. Dr. Rostova's conclusion was considered absurd by the scientific community, but she published it anyway. The patient saved her own life by responding to memories of a future she prevented from happening. Block 4. How to identify signs of your future self. Retrotemporal signals have specific markers. Learn to recognize them. First, intuitions that come with impossible information. You know things you couldn't possibly know. Specific details about people you've never met. Outcomes of situations that haven't happened yet. It's not clairvoyance. It's a leaking memory of the future. Second, dreams that seem more real than reality. You wake up confused about which timeline is the true one. In these dreams, you are older, in different places, with people who are not yet part of your life. And the emotion in these dreams is always intense, usually deep regret or absolute relief. Third, irrational impulses that save your life. You cancel a trip for no reason. You end a relationship that seemed perfect. You refuse an opportunity that everyone says is incredible, and your conscious mind screams that you're being an idiot. But something deeper compels you to do it. Fourth, the phenomenon I call temporal echo. You have a conversation with someone and you swear you've had that conversation before, but the other person says it's the first time. You're right, you've had that conversation before. In the futori and the echo is reverberating backward. Block 5. The dilemma of autocausality. But here's the mind-boggling paradox. If you change the future based on signals from your future self, you create a time loop. The future that sent the signal never happens. So how could it have sent the signal? Quantum physicists call this retrocausal causality. The most widely accepted solution is frightening. Multiple timelines exist. When you receive a signal from the future and act upon it, you don't erase that future, you abandon it. You jump to a parallel timeline. But here's what nobody wants to admit. It means there's a version of you still living in that terrible future. The version that died in the accident, the version that made the wrong decision, the version that's desperately trying to send warnings to all the parallel versions of itself. You're not just receiving signals, you're part of a network of versions of yourself, all trying to save each other through time. Block 6. The Observer Protocol. Now I'm going to reveal something I promised in the first episode. The Observer Protocol. This is a method developed by a secret group of physicists and mystics who have been studying temporal communication for decades. The protocol has 3 stages. Step 1. Timeline. Every night before going to sleep, record a 3-minute audio describing the important decisions you need to make. Be specific. State the options, the fears, the uncertainties. You are creating a timeline marker that your future self can access. Step 2. Retrocausal meditation. Upon waking, before opening your eyes, ask your future self a specific question. Which of these decisions should I make? Then pay attention to the first image, sensation, or word that comes to mind. Don't filter. Don't analyze. Just record it. Step 3. Cross-validation. In the following 24 hours, look for external confirmations, signs from the universe that validate or contradict the answer you received. If 3 or more synchronicities point in the same direction as your morning intuition, you have received a temporal message. This protocol works because you are consciously creating a channel between your temporal versions. You are deliberately doing what normally happens accidentally. Block 7. The dangers of temporal communication. But I need to warn you, messing with time has consequences. Some people who practice the Observer Protocol begin to experience disturbing side effects. Chimi displacement. You lose track of when things happened. Yesterday feels like a week ago. Recent events seem like old memories. Your sense of temporal continuity becomes blurred. Multiplicity of self. You begin to feel fragmented, as if there were several versions of yourself coexisting. You make decisions you don't remember making. You have opinions that contradict your own beliefs. It's the feeling of being inhabited by multiple selves from different timelines. Timeline bleeding. The most disturbing. You start having memories of things that never happen in this timeline. You remember people who don't exist here. You feel nostalgia for places that were never built. These are memories leaking from versions of yourself in parallel realities. Therefore, the Observer Protocol must be used with extreme caution. You are literally destabilizing your own temporal continuity. Block 8. The experiment you must do. Here's a simple test that will prove whether temporal communication is real. Tonight, before going to sleep, choose a specific symbol, something unusual, something you wouldn't normally encounter in your daily life. It could be a purple triangle, a white owl, anything very specific. So do this. Intensely imagine that your future self, the you of tomorrow night, is sending this symbol back in time to you now. Visualize this for 3 minutes. Feel the certainty that it will happen. Tomorrow, pay attention. If this symbol appears in an impossible way, in a random place, brought by someone with no connection, in a way that defies probability, you have just proven to yourself that time is not linear. Try this experiment, but be prepared for what comes next. Because once you prove that time is malleable, you can no longer pretend to be a victim of circumstances. You become responsible for your time. Block 9. The truth about regret. Do you know why regret is so painful? It's not just because you made a bad choice. It's because, at some quantum level, you re-feeling the suffering of the version of yourself that is living the consequences of that choice in a parallel timeline. Every time you think, I should have done things differently, you're not just imagining an alternate scenario. You're connecting with a version of yourself that did things differently. And the two of you are exchanging information across the membrane that separates realities. This explains why some regrets never go away, no matter how much time passes. It's because that version of you is still living with that pain, and the pain is bleeding across dimensions, closing the next time you have a strong feeling, an inexplicable impulse, a vivid dream. Ask yourself, is this the universe speaking to me, or is it me, from the future, trying to save my own life? In part 4, we'll explore something even more disturbing. The signs don't just come from your individual future. Sometimes they come from the collective future of humanity. And these signs have been intensifying dramatically in recent years. Something big is coming, and those who are sensitive to the signs are being prepared. The question is, are you one of them? Did you complete the symbol experiment from our last video? Did it appear? If so, welcome to the club of those who can no longer deny what's happening. If not, perhaps you're not ready yet. Or maybe ... You're actively blocking the signals. I'll tell you why that might be in just a moment. But first, I need to talk about something that's happening right now. Something that involves millions of people simultaneously. And it might just explain why you felt compelled to find this video series. Welcome to part 4. Today, we re-talking about the most unsettling phenomenon of all, when the universe is ENG talking to you ... It's talking to all of us at the same time. In 2023, something strange started happening. People all around the globe began waking up at 3:33 in the morning. Not just once in a while, every single night. 4 weeks on end, no alarm clock, no logical reason. Internet forums just exploded with identical stories. People who had never met, never spoken, all describing the exact same experience, waking up suddenly at 3:33 a.m., feeling a strange presence in the room, and then seeing the number 333 everywhere the following day. Now, science tried to dismiss it, calling it confirmation bias or social media-induced mass hysteria, but there rests a huge hole in that theory. Many of the reports came from people who didn't even have internet access. We're talking about isolated tribes, remote communities, even prisoners in solitary confinement were reporting the same thing. This wasn't going viral in a digital sense. It was going viral in a cosmic sense. And then, just as suddenly as it began, in March 2024, the awakenings stopped, abruptly, all at once. It was as if a switch had been flipped. Or maybe, as if the message had finally been delivered to everyone who needed to receive it. There is a suppressed theory in the world of quantum physics known as the global consciousness field theory. It suggests that all human minds are connected by an invisible field, not as a metaphor, but literally, a quantumly entangled field where information can be shared instantly between billions of people, faster than the speed of light. The Princeton Global Consciousness Project actually spent 20 years trying to measure this. They set up random number generators all over the world and just watched the patterns. What they found was shocking. Just moments before major global events, like terrorist attacks, tsunamis, or the deaths of major public figures, these generators, which should have been producing pure chaos, began showing distinct patterns of order. It was as if our collective consciousness knew something was about to happen. The project was quietly shut down in 2015. The data was archived and locked away. But some of the researchers continued their work in secret, and what they allegedly discovered between 2020 and 2024 was so disturbing that only fragments have ever leaked out. They found that this global field of consciousness isn't just reacting to events anymore. It's trying to prepare us for something. When the universe needs to get a message to all of humanity, it uses signals that bypass culture, language, and geography. These are signals so profound that people who are completely disconnected from each other start reporting the exact same experiences. Over the past 5 years, 7 main collective signs have been documented. The first is shared dreams. Thousands of people are reporting dreams of the same place, a city that doesn't exist on any map. It's always night. There's always a red moon in the sky. And everyone shares the same feeling that something is coming. The second sign is children's visions. Across the world, children between the ages of 3 and 7, before society has fully conditioned them, are drawing the same symbols: concentric circles, spirals, eyes inside triangles. They're drawing them without ever having seen these symbols before. Then there's the third sign: anomalous animal behavior. We're seeing mass migrations happening at the wrong time of year, whales beaching themselves in unprecedented numbers, birds flying in impossible geometric formations. It's as if nature itself is trying to show us something, to draw a picture in the sky. The fourth sign is synchronized technology failures. Think about it. Massive blackouts happening at the exact same moment in countries that are even on the same power grid. satellites failing simultaneously. Even our most advanced quantum computers are exhibiting identical errors at the same time. It's as if an external force is interfering with our entire technological infrastructure. Fifth, we have collective temporal anomalies. Entire communities are reporting that time feels distorted. A day that seems to last 30 hours. A week that flies by in the blink of an eye. And this isn't just a subjective feeling. Atomic clocks in those regions are registering inexplicable discrepancies. The sixth sign is what's being called the buzz phenomenon. Millions of people are reporting hearing a constant, low-frequency sound, a hum or a buzz with no identifiable source. Some people find it terrifying. Others say it's strangely comforting. But everyone who hears it agrees on one thing: it's getting louder. And finally, the seventh sign, spontaneous awakening. Ordinary people with no background in spirituality are having profound mystical experiences. They haven't used any substances, they don't meditate, they weren't seeking it. They simply wake up one day with a knowledge they shouldn't possess, a feeling of connection they can't explain. Now, any one of these signs, looked at in isolation, could probably be explained away, but all seven of them happening at the same time and intensifying year after year. This isn't a coincidence. It's a coordinated event. It's a symphony. In 2022, an independent researcher named Dr. Isa Cardoso started documenting a phenomena she called epidemic clairvoyance. People who had never had a single paranormal experience in their lives suddenly started having incredibly accurate premonitions. A bus driver in São Paulo, Brazil, dreamed of a specific, horrific accident 3 days before it happened. He was so shaken that he changed his route that day. He saved 40 lives. A housewife in rural Brazil had a vivid vision of a catastrophic flood. She managed to convince her entire community to move to higher ground a week before the rains came. Their old town was completely washed away. A 9-year-old child in Rio de Janeiro drew a picture of a building on fire, including specific, verifiable details. 2 months later, that exact building, which she had never seen in her life, caught fire, just like in her drawing. Dr. Cardoso collected over 3,000 documented cases like these in Brazil alone, and when she shared her data with international researchers, she discovered the pattern was global. It was happening on every continent, in every culture. Ordinary people were becoming unwilling prophets. Her conclusion was censored from every scientific journal she submitted it to, but she managed to publish it on her personal blog right before she mysteriously disappeared. She wrote, "Something is activating latent capabilities in the global population. It's as if humanity is being upgraded in preparation for something we cannot yet understand." An upgrade for what? This isn't just about seeing signs anymore. This is about a fundamental shift in our collective human experience. Something is coming, and the universe is making sure we're all ready for it. In the next part, we will explore what this upgrade truly means and how you can consciously participate in it. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this resonated with you, please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's next. Block 5. Why some people don't receive the signs. You might be wondering, if this is real, why am I not experiencing any of it? There are 3 main reasons. Reason 1. Cultural blockade. We've been trained since childhood to dismiss these signals as imagination, superstition, or coincidence. Your brain has learned to filter these experiences before they even reach your consciousness. It's like having a mental firewall blocking cosmic transmissions. Reason 2. Technological OVR Laditha. More time you spend connected to devices, the less connected you become to the global field of consciousness. Screens emit frequencies that literally interfere with your receptivity. It's no accident that the most technologically advanced societies report fewer mystical experiences. Reason 3. Subconscious VR. Your subconscious mind knows that receiving these signals will completely change your life. It will shatter your certainties. It will force you to act. So it actively blocks any information that could cause this transformation. It's a self-protection mechanism. But here's the brutal truth. You are receiving the signals. It's your conscious mind that isn't processing them. They're arriving in your dreams that you don't remember, in your intuitions that you ignore, in your impulses that you suppress. Block 6. The experiment of collective synchronicity. I'm going to propose something that will seem absurd, but if thousands of people do this simultaneously, we'll create a measurable collective synchronicity. Tonight, at exactly 11:23 p.m. in your local time zone, stop what you are doing. Close your eyes for 3 minutes and ask yourself a single question mentally. What does humanity need to know now? Don't force an answer, just allow something to come. It could be a word, an image, a feeling. No matter how absurd it seems, write it down immediately. Over the next 24 hours, pay attention to whether other people around you, without you mentioning anything, say words related to or demonstrate behaviors connected to what you received. If hundreds of thousands of people do this simultaneously, we will create a wave in the global field of consciousness, and this wave will generate measurable effects, impossible synchronicities, connections that defy explanation. This is no esoteric game. It's an experiment in collective consciousness, and it may prove something that mainstream science refuses to investigate, that our minds, when synchronized, can literally affect physical reality. Block 7. The message nitrogen monoxide 1 wants to hear. Here's what the data is suggesting. What all these collective signals are trying to tell us. Something is coming. I don't know exactly what. Nobody knows. But the global field of consciousness knows, and it's desperately trying to prepare us. Some researchers believe it's a planetary shift, a reorganization of Earth's magnetic field that will affect our biology and consciousness. Others believe it's a dimensional convergence, that multiple timelines are collapsing into one, and we are about to experience them all simultaneously. Some say it's a mass spiritual awakening, that humanity is evolving to the next stage of consciousness, and the signs are symptoms of this transformation. And then there are those who believe in something more literal, that we are not alone in the universe, and that something or someone is about to reveal themselves in an undeniable way. I don't know which of these theories is correct. Maybe all of them? Maybe none of them. But one thing is certain, the volume of the signals is increasing. The frequency is accelerating, and people around the world are being activated for something. Block 8. The chosen ones without knowing. There's an interesting pattern in the people who are receiving the most intense signals. They aren't necessarily the most spiritual, or the most intelligent, or the most pure. These are people who have gone through specific traumas, who have had near-death experiences, who have lost everything and had to rebuild themselves, as if the suffering had broken something within them, and this breakage allowed something new to enter. These are people who have always felt different, out of place, as if they didn't fully belong in this world, not because they are special, but because perhaps they literally don't belong solely to this reality. Perhaps they are anchors between dimensions. These are people who, as children, had imaginary friends, who knew impossible things, who saw things that adults said didn't exist, who were medicated, given therapy, conditioned to forget. If you're watching this series, there's a good chance you're one of those people. The algorithm didn't bring you here by chance. You were pulled here because something in you recognized the frequency of these words. Block 9. The collective amplification protocol. Now I'm going to teach you something powerful, a technique that, if practiced by thousands of people simultaneously, can dramatically amplify our ability to receive and interpret collective signals. Step 1. Temporal SYNC, HRNCs, a fixed time every day, always at the same time. This creates an anchor point in the temporal field where your consciousness can meet with other consciousnesses doing the same practice. Step 2. Coded BRAT engine. Inhale, counting 2, 3, hold for 3, exhale counting to 3, hold 4 trays. This 3-3-3-3 pattern creates a specific frequency that resonates with the global field of consciousness. Step 3. Collective visualization. Aon. Imagine you are in a circular room with thousands of other people, all holding hands, all pulsing at the same frequency. Feel as a single organism. STEP 4. Unified QEs. Ask yourselves the same question. Show us the next step. Don't specify where or what, just the next step. Step 5. Reception. OP in remain silent for 3 minutes. Receive without judgment. Whatever comes, comes. It may be for you individually. It may be for the collective. It may be something you will only understand much later. If 10,000 people do this simultaneously every day for 33 days, something will happen. I don't know exactly what, but it will be undeniable. Block 10. The signs that are yet to come based on the patterns I'm tracking. I can predict with reasonable certainty the next collective signals that will manifest. US next 3 months more people will report seeing lights in the sky that are not airplanes, satellites, or drones. Lights that respond to thought, that appear when they are mentally summoned. US next 6 months dramatic increases in spontaneous telepathic abilities, people knowing exactly what others are going to say before they speak. Not as guessing, but as absolute certainty. The next 12 months children being born with abilities that should be impossible. Speaking languages they never learned, knowing things about history and science that no one taught them. They will be called prodigies, but they are not prodigies. They are the next stage. Over the next 2 years, a global event that no one will be able to deny. Something that will completely shatter the materialistic paradigm. And when that happens, all these signs we've been discussing will make sense retroactively. Closing the universe isn't just speaking to you individually. It's orchestrating a collective awakening. And you've been chosen to be part of the first wave. Not because you're special, but because you're ready. Or rather, because you need to be ready. What comes next will require people who have already shattered their certainties, who have already stared into the abyss of the impossible and didn't blink. In part 5, we're going to enter the most dangerous territory yet. Signs that come from the dead. Not ghosts, not hauntings, but genuine communication from consciousnesses that have transitioned to some other place. And I am going to teach you the forbidden technique to distinguish real messages from projections of your own subconscious. But before that, do tonight's experiment at 11:23 p.m. Ask the question, write down the answer, and see what happens in the next 24 hours. Did you ask the question at 11:23 p.m.? Did you receive anything? Hold on to that information. We're going to need it at the end of this episode. But first, I have to tell you about something that happened 3 weeks ago. Something that made me question everything I thought I knew about death. I received a message from a woman named Carmen. She was 34 years old when her husband died in a motorcycle accident. That was back in 2019. What happened after that? Science has no explanation for it, and neither do I. Welcome to part 5. Prepare yourselves. This is the most disturbing episode of the series, because we're going to talk about something everyone knows is real, but nobody wants to admit. The dead don't truly leave, and some of them are desperately trying to communicate. Carmen kept her husband's cell phone. She canceled the service, but she kept the device charged. It was all that was left of him in the physical world. His photos, his messages, his voice notes. 3 months after he passed, the phone rang. Impossible, right? No active line, no SIM card, just a piece of metal and silicon with no connection to any network. But it rang at 3:17 in the morning, the exact time of the accident. Carmen answered, her hand trembling. There was silence on the other end, but it wasn't an empty silence, it was a dense, heavy silence, as if someone was there trying to speak but couldn't. She hung up. She cried. She tried to rationalize it. It's just a technical glitch. It's the grief making me imagine things. But the phone rang again. Same time. The very next night. And on the third night, when she answered, she heard his voice. Not words. Just a sound. A distorted whisper. But it was him. She would recognize that frequency in any dimension. Carmen sent me the recordings. I analyzed them. I ran them through audio analysis software, and what I found kept me awake for a week. The voice was there, but it wasn't coming from anywhere. The waveform appeared on the spectrogram, but there was no source. It's as if the sound was being created directly in the air, without any physical emitter. There's a field of study called instrumental transcommunication that the scientific community refuses to acknowledge. For decades, researchers around the world have documented identical phenomena: voices of the deceased appearing on audio recordings, faces emerging from TV static, messages being typed on computers that are turned off. The most famous case is that of Fredrik Jurgensen, a Swedish filmmaker who, in 1959, was recording birdsong and discovered human voices in the audio. Voices that spoke in languages he knew, mentioning people from his life, saying things that no one alive could possibly know. He spent 12 years documenting thousands of these recordings. He brought in physicists, engineers, professional skeptics. They all confirmed it. The voices were there, but where were they coming from? The most mind-bending theory was proposed by Dr. Ernst Sinkowski, a German physicist who dedicated 40 years to this study. He concluded that consciousness is not produced by the brain, it is received by the brain. Like a radio picks up broadcast waves. When the brain dies, consciousness doesn't disappear, it simply loses its receiver. But if you can create the right kind of receiver, consciousness can communicate again. Not all communication from the other side is the same. There are 3 distinct categories, each with its own specific characteristics. Type 1 is the residual echo. This isn't conscious communication. It's like a recording left behind in the atmosphere. The person passed away with such intense emotion that they literally imprinted their presence on the physical space. You walk into a house and feel an inexplicable sadness in one particular room. Someone died there tragically, and that emotion is embedded in the walls, in the air, in the quantum structure of the space itself. These echoes don't interact. They just repeat, like a time loop stuck on play. Type 2 is conscious presence. Here, the person has passed, but they retain a form of consciousness. They know you are there. They are deliberately trying to communicate. Typical signs include objects being moved with intention, not just randomly falling, lights that flicker in response to your questions, a physical touch, a hand on your shoulder, a hug you can feel but can't see. A conscious presence usually has a purpose: to warn you about something, to ask for help, resolving an unfinished task, or simply to say a real goodbye. Then there is type 3. Dimensional intervention. This is the rarest and most powerful type. Here, consciousness doesn't just observe at a CTS, it can affect physical events in a measurable way. Carmen experienced this. 2 weeks after the phone calls, she was driving in the rain. Her car skidded. She was about to collide head-on with a truck. But at the last second, the steering wheel turned on its own, as if invisible hands had taken control. She survived with only a few scratches, and when she got out of the car, she smelled his cologne. That specific cologne he always wore. Impossible to mistake. Here's the problem. Your brain can create what you most desire. Intense grief can produce extremely realistic hallucinations. So how do you tell the difference between genuine communication and your own psychological projection? I developed a 6-point protocol based on decades of documented cases. First, impossible information. The communication brings you information you couldn't possibly know otherwise. Numbers, names, locations, even future events that later come true. Second, other people with no connection to each other report similar experiences with the same deceased person. If 3 people in different cities get the same message, it's not an individual projection. Third, physical manifestation. Something happens in the physical world that defies natural explanation. Objects appearing in impossible places. Technology failing in specific, meaningful ways. Events synchronizing in a statistically impossible manner. Fourth, impossible timing. The communication happens at moments that only the deceased would know are significant. Secret anniversaries. Specific times of private events. Dates that no one else would remember. Fifth, uncanny specificity. These aren't generic messages like "I love you" or "I'm at peace." There are specific details, inside jokes, and personal references that only that person would make. And sixth, emotional resilience. Paradoxically, real communication often brings messages you don't want to hear. Hard truths, difficult warnings. If it's always comfortable, it might just be a projection of your own wishes. In 2021, I documented one of the most extraordinary cases I've ever seen. Lucas and Pedro were identical twins, 23 years old. Pedro died in a climbing accident. Lucas was in a different city when it happened. At the exact moment of death, confirmed by medical records, Lucas felt a sharp pain in his chest. He collapsed, shouting, "Pedro!" No one had called him. No one knew yet. But he felt his brother die 400 kilometers away. In the months that followed, something incredible began to happen. Lucas started to acquire knowledge he never had. Pedro was an engineer. Lucas was an artist. But suddenly, Lucas could solve complex equations. He understood advanced programming, things only Pedro knew. Even stranger, he began to develop scars that weren't there before. Pedro's birthmarks, which he never had. It was as if, with Pedro gone from the physical world, Lucas was absorbing his brother's essence. This goes beyond communication. It's dimensional merging. It's as if identical twins share a single soul in two bodies, and when one body dies, the entire soul migrates to what remains. Now, I'm going to teach you something. A technique that is said to allow direct communication with transitioned consciousnesses. It was used by Siberian shamans for millennia, but it was suppressed because it works too well. A word of warning. This technique can open doors that you may not be able to close. Use it only if you truly need to make contact, and only with someone you deeply loved. For preparation, choose an object that belonged to the person, something they touched frequently that carries their energy. Find a real physical mirror, not your phone's camera. It has to be real, glass, and silver. The time should be between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., when the veil between worlds is thin, and find a location where you feel completely safe. Emotional protection is key. For execution, sit in front of the mirror, holding the object. Look at your own reflection for 3 minutes without blinking. Your face will start to distort. This is normal. Keep looking. Call the person's name 3 times, out loud, with intention. Now, close your eyes and ask, "What do you need me to know?" Remain completely silent for 11 minutes. Open your eyes slowly. What you see in the mirror may not be your reflection. It could be their face. It could be symbols. It could be scenes from somewhere else. But, and this is important, if you feel absolute terror, you must shout, "I close this portal" 3 times and break contact immediately. Not every entity that responds is the one you called for. But some communications are life-saving. There are documented cases of the dead literally preventing the living from dying. One case is the vigilant mother, Maria, 62, passed from cancer. 6 months later, her daughter Amanda was driving when she clearly heard her mother's voice shout, "Stop!" She slammed on the brakes instinctively. 3 seconds later, a tree fell exactly where her car would have been. Another is the brother's warning. Roberto died in 2015. His brother Tiago woke up in 2020 to find a note in his own notebook that said, "Don't sign the contract on Tuesday." The handwriting was identical to Roberto's. Tiago didn't sign. The next day, he discovered it was a scam that would have financially ruined his family. Not all consciousnesses transition completely. Some remain stuck between worlds, not as punishment, but for 3 main reasons. First, a sudden and traumatic death. The consciousness doesn't realize it has died. It continues its routine, confused why no one sees or hears it. Second, unfinished business. A secret that wasn't revealed. An injustice not corrected. A love not declared. The consciousness refuses to move on until it's resolved. And third, attachment to the suffering of the living. When those left behind are unable to move on, their grief can literally hold the dead back, creating energetic cords that prevent a full transition. This last one is the most tragic. You might be unknowingly keeping the soul of someone you love imprisoned. Your suffering becomes their prison. If you suspect you're holding someone Bakor, being visited by someone who is stuck there is a release protocol. On the first night, Light a white candle. Say aloud, "Name, I give you permission to go. I will be okay. You don't need to take care of me anymore. Thank you for everything. Now go in peace." On the second night, name, "I forgive you for everything you think you did wrong. And I forgive myself for everything I think I did wrong. We are even, we are free." And on the third night, name, "Thank you for every moment. Thank you for every lesson. Thank you for being a part of my life. Our story is complete. Goodbye with love." Many people report that on that third night, they feel a presence approach, wrap them in an invisible embrace, and then leave for good. And for the first time since the passing, they feel peace. Here's what all these documented cases suggest. Death is not the end of consciousness, it's a transition, and some consciousnesses retain the ability to interact with our plane. But there's something even more disturbing, something few researchers dare to say publicly. The dead are not just trying to communicate with us, they are trying to warn us about something that is coming, something they can see from their dimensional perspective that we cannot. In the last 2 years, there has been a 340% increase in reports of postmortem communication, not just from the recently deceased, but from souls who passed decades, even generations ago. It's as if there's a mass mobilization on the other side, and the messages are consistent. Get ready? It's coming. You're going to need each other. Now, remember the question you asked at 11:23 p.m. in the last episode? What does humanity need to know now? Compare your answer with what I'm about to ask you to do. Tonight, before you sleep, hold a photo of someone you loved who has passed away. Look at the photo for 3 minutes. Then ask this specific question. Are you trying to tell me something? Sleep with the photo under your pillow. When you wake up, write down any dreams you have, no matter how confusing. And over the next 48 hours, pay attention to these signs: music that person loved playing randomly, their belongings appearing in strange places, other people mentioning them for no reason, or dreams where they appear with a clear message. If 3 or more of these signs occur, it's not a coincidence. It's an answer. Death is not the end of communication. It's just a change of frequency. The dead don't leave us. They simply operate in a dimension our 5 senses can't easily detect. But when they need to win, they really need to reach us, they find a way. Impossible phone calls, voices in recordings, miraculous rescues, messages in dreams. And now, more than ever, they are trying to get through because something big is happening. And they want us to be ready. Part 6. We'll explore the most terrifying phenomenon of all. Places where the veil between worlds is permanently torn. Places where the impossible happens every day, where people enter and never return. Or they leave changed. The Bermuda Triangle, the zone of silence in Mexico. Did you do the experiment from the last episode? Did the signs appear? Keep those notes, because what I'm about to reveal today will finally explain why certain places amplify communication between dimensions. But first, I need to tell you about something that happened in 1977. Something the Brazilian government kept secret for decades. Something that explains why certain regions of our planet behave as if the laws of physics simply don't work there. Welcome to Part 6. This is the episode where geography meets the impossible, where we'll map the exact places where the veil between worlds is permanently torn. And I'm going to show you that one of those places might be much closer than you think. It was 1977 in Colares, a small municipality in Brazil. For months, inexplicable lights filled the night skies. But these weren't ordinary lights. They pursued people, they attacked. Residents reported being hit by beams of light that left burns on their skin. 2 people died. Panic spread. So the Brazilian Air Force did something unprecedented. They launched an official investigation called Operation Prado. Commander Helenda Lima led the team. They spent 4 months gathering 500 photos, 16 hours of footage, and hundreds of witness testimonies. The final report, classified as top secret, and locked away. But in 1997, on his deathbed, Commander Hollanda gave an interview. He revealed everything. The lights were real, they demonstrated intelligence. They responded to signals from the ground, and the most disturbing part, they would emerge from the Amazon rainforest and then return to it, as if something existed inside the forest, not on it. A portal, a dimensional rift. 3 months after that interview, Commander Hollanda was found hanged. The official story was suicide, but his friends and family insisted he was optimistic, making plans for the future with no signs of depression. What did he see in that forest that made him break a military oath after 20 years? Now, what if I told you there are 37 known locations on this planet where persistent anomalies defy scientific explanation? These aren't just urban legends, they are places where instruments fail, compasses spin wildly, and time seems to warp. In 1972, a Russian geophysicist named Nikolai Goncharov mapped these spots and discovered something terrifying. They form a perfect geometric pattern around the globe. Nodes on a planetary energy grid. When you connect these points, they form the same geometry found in ancient sacred sites, in complex crop circles, and in visions people have during near-death experiences. Coincidence? A biologist named Ivan Sanderson calculated the odds of these locations aligning by chance at 1 in 847 trillion. Someone or something built a network around our planet. And these anomaly zones are the access points. Let's talk about the most famous one, the Bermuda Triangle. Everyone knows the stories of disappearing ships and planes, but what most people don't know is there's physical evidence submerged deep below. In 2012, oceanographers discovered massive pyramidal structures on the ocean floor, right inside the triangle. They show up on sonar but are made of a material that reflects the waves in an impossible way, almost like glass. Then, in 2019, an unmanned submarine captured something extraordinary. The structures were emitting regular pulses of light, as if they were active. Dodo Maya Verlag, the oceanographer who led the expedition, had his data confiscated by the U.S. government. But before he vanished from public life, he leaked a chilling conclusion. The structures are technological. They are not disabled. They are operating, and they were not built by us. Now, let's travel to the Mapimi Desert in northern Mexico, to a place known as the Zone of Silence. It's an area about 50 square kilometers where radio signals simply die. No cell phones, no GPS, not even compasses work. But even stranger is the abnormal frequency of things falling from the sky. They're meteors, space debris, even stray rocks. It's like a gravitational anomaly pulling things down. In 1970, a U.S. Athena missile mysteriously veered off course and crashed right in the zone. The U.S. Air Force essentially invaded Mexican territory to retrieve it, even paving a road to get it out. Why? What was on that missile? Local residents tell even stranger stories of 3 blonde people who appear on the roads asking for water, only to thank them in perfect Spanish and vanish into thin air. People have even filmed them there. They're one frame, gone the next. Then there's the Hoja Baciu forest in Romania, the Bermuda Triangle of the land. In the middle of this forest is a perfect circle where absolutely nothing grows. Fertile soil, perfect conditions, but for centuries, just bare earth. People who enter report losing time, they go in for 20 minutes and come out 5 hours later with no memory of the gap. They get unexplained burns and feel an intense sensation of being watched. The most famous case is of a 5-year-old girl who disappeared in the forest in 1970. After a massive search turned up nothing, she reappeared 5 years later. Same clothes, same age. She hadn't aged a day. Doctors said she had no memory of the missing time. The official explanation was dissociative fugue, but how does a 5-year-old survive alone for 5 years without eating or growing? The answer no one wants to admit is that she didn't spend 5 years in our timeline. She slipped into another dimension, and Brazil isn't just home to Operation Prado. It has at least 7 documented anomaly zones. There's Serra do Roncador, known as the Brazilian Bermuda Triangle, where lights appear almost every night and expeditions vanish. There's Trindade Island, where the Brazilian Navy confirmed a UFO sighting in 1958. There's Vale do Amenhezer, where mediums report the veil between worlds is thinner. And there's the city of Liges, which had over 200 official UFO reports in 2020 alone. But here's something that will really blow your mind. These zones aren't constantly active. They pulsate. Researchers have mapped the peaks of activity, and the pattern is clear. Activity spikes during major human events. The start of the Cold War, the moon landing, the fall of the Berlin Wall. And right now, from 2023 to the present, we are in the largest spike of activity ever recorded. It's as if someone or something is monitoring us. And the more we advance, the more these zones try to communicate. You don't have to go to the Bermuda Triangle to experience this. There are microzones everywhere. Signs you're near one include electronics consistently failing, animals behaving strangely, a recurring physical sensation like pressure in your head or ringing in your ears, and that feeling of lost time. If you notice 3 or more of these signs in a specific place near you, you've found a microanomaly zone. If you ever decide to investigate one, please be savvy. Tell people where you're going. Go in a group of at least 3, and trust your gut. If you feel intense fear, leave immediately. Carry a physical compass and watch to check for discrepancies and document everything. If you see things that shouldn't be there, keep your distance. And here's the most urgent part. The latest data shows these zones are expanding. The Bermuda Triangle's anomalous area is 40% larger than it was in 1950. The zone of silence has doubled in size. It's like the network is powering up. A physicist named Dr. Ravi Malhotra published a paper which was quickly retracted, predicting that if this continues, by 2045, nearly a quarter of the Earth's surface will be inside an anomaly zone. So, here's a simple experiment for you. Over the next 7 days, identify 3 local places where you've felt something strange. Visit each one at noon for exactly 11 minutes and document everything you feel and see. After 7 days, connect those 3 points on a map to form a triangle. The true center of the anomaly will be at the geometric center of that triangle. Be prepared for what you might find there. These zones are not geographical accidents. They are interfaces, places where our reality touches something else, and they are opening. The veil is thinning. The question is, why now? In part set, we'll explore something even more disturbing. It's not just places that are portals. People can be portals too. Individuals called catalysts around whom the impossible happens constantly. And there's a good chance you either know one or you are one. Do the 3-point experiment. Find your local zone and come back for part 7. Reality is tearing at the seams, and you need to know where the cracks are. Thanks for watching, and if you want to continue down this rabbit hole with me, make sure to follow and subscribe. Did you complete the 3-point experiment? Did you find the geometric center? If so, you've just mapped a dimensional rift. But what I am about to reveal will make you realize something even more unsettling. Anomaly zones are unjust geographical. They can be human. There is a type of person who carries with them a field of impossibility. No matter where they go, inexplicable phenomena follow them. Clocks stop in their presence. Light bulbs explode when they pass by. Animals react strangely, and people around them begin to experience absurd scenes. Welcome to part 7. Today you'll discover the truth about catalysts, people who function as living antennas between dimensions. And I'll teach you how to identify if you are one of them. Because if you are, your whole life will finally make sense. In 2016, I documented the case of a woman in Curitiba, let's call her Anna, who could unkeep a cell phone working for more than 3 weeks. It wasn't carelessness, it was literally impossible. The devices simply died suddenly. Black screen. No chance of recovery. Technicians opened the devices and found components burned out in ways that should be possible without exposure to extreme electromagnetic fields. But it wasn't just cell phones. Computers would freeze in her presence. ATMs would malfunction. Traffic lights would flash. Once, all the lights in a supermarket went out the exact moment she entered. Doctors investigated, but biologically, she was completely normal. The phenomenon had no physical explanation. But then we discovered something extraordinary. Aina had experienced a near-death experience at age 19, cardiac arrest during surgery, 3 minutes without a heartbeat. The doctors brought her back. And after that, the electrical phenomena began, as if something had changed in her during those 3 minutes, as if she had returned different. Aina is not an isolated case. There are thousands like her. Through a decade of research, I have identified 7 distinct types of catalysts. Each one manifests a specific type of anomaly around them. The first is the electric catalyst, like Aina. They affect electronic devices. It represents about 23% of cases and often develops after electrical trauma or a near-death experience. The second is the temporal catalyst. They distort the perception of time around them. People lose track of time. Clocks run slow or fast, and they report intense déjà vu. Third, the telepathic catalyst. People around them seem to hear each other's thoughts. Communication becomes incredibly synchronized, and shared dreams become common. This often develops after profound emotional trauma. Fourth, the dimensional catalyst. Objects disappear and reappear around them. People see shadows or figures, and environments feel different when they enter. Fifth, the precognitive catalyst. People around them begin to have accurate premonitions and prophetic dreams. Impossible coincidences happen constantly. Sixth, the biological catalyst. Plants grow abnormally near them, animals react in extreme ways, and they can influence the health of others. They were often born during rare astronomical events. And seventh, the manifestation catalyst. The rarest and most powerful, their thoughts and intentions manifest physically with abnormal speed. Reality seems to respond directly to their emotional states. No one is born a complete catalyst. There is always a triggering event. The most common are near-death experiences, accounting for 41% of cases. It's as if they touch another dimension and bring back a different frequency. Extreme trauma is another, making up 28% of cases. The sheer intensity of suffering seems to break something in their personal reality. Spontaneous mystical experiences account for 19%. And finally, 12% develop this after prolonged time in anomalous zones, as if the field infected them. What do all these events have in common? They create a rupture, a moment where the normal continuity of consciousness is violently interrupted. And in that rupture, something new can enter, or something dormant can awaken. In 2019, I met a man in Porto Alegre, let's call him Ricardo, who developed something extraordinary after a car accident. He crashed head-on at 80 kilometers per hour. He should have died. But seconds before impact, time literally slowed down for him. He saw glass shards floating in slow motion, allowing him to position himself to survive. Doctors called it a miracle, but after that day, Ricardo discovered he could do it again, instinctively. In any situation of extreme danger, time would slow down, but only for him. He could think, move, and react while everything around him was at a virtual standstill. Ricardo is a time catalyst, and there are hundreds like him. There's a suppressed theory in quantum physics that might explain this. Proposed by Dr. Stuart Hameroff and Sir Roger Penrose, it suggests consciousness is a quantum phenomenon. Microscopic structures in our neurons, called exist in a state of quantum entanglement, not just within a single brain, but potentially between people and the very fabric of catalysts would be people where this entanglement is much stronger than normal. It's not supernatural power, it's physics. So, how do you identify if you are a catalyst? Answer this quick questionnaire honestly. First, think about your childhood. Did you have imaginary friends who knew things you didn't? Did you see things adults said weren't there? Next, electronics. Do clocks stop on you? Do light bulbs burn out frequently? Do you just feel when your phone is about to ring? What about do impossible coincidences happen around you? Do you think of people and they suddenly appear or call? Consider the people around you. Do they say strange things happen when they're with you? Do they feel more intuitive? And finally, unusual perceptions. Do you physically feel the energy of places? see movements in the corner of your eye, have dreams that become reality. Now, the triggering event, have you had a near-death experience, extreme trauma, or a sudden spiritual awakening? If you answered yes to 9 to 15 of these questions, you might be an emerging catalyst. 16 to 22 yes answers. And you are likely an active catalyst of medium intensity. And if you have 23 or more, you are definitely a high-intensity catalyst. And your life has probably been complicated. Being a catalyst isn't a gift. It's a burden. Most spend years thinking they're going crazy. Doctors find nothing wrong. Relationships are difficult. Work is complicated. How do you explain to your boss that computers crash when you're stressed? The worst part is the loneliness. Many tend to addiction just to switch it all off. But here's something few people know. There is a network. It's not a formal organization, but catalysts recognize each other. They are pulled together by impossible. When two or more are close, their fields amplify. The synchronicities explode. Reality becomes more malleable. It's called resonance. And here's the most disturbing fact. The number of catalysts is exploding. From 50,000 in 1952, over 20 million today. Something is activating people en masse. Is it the weakening of the Earth's magnetic field? Changes in the planet's resonant frequency? An evolutionary leap? Or are we being prepared for something that's coming? One thing is certain. Something is changing. And catalysts are at the If you are a catalyst, you must learn to work with this trait. First, accept it. Stop fighting. Second, document everything. Keep a journal of synchronicities and phenomena. Third, conduct controlled tests. Set an intention and observe its manifestation. Fourth, find others. When you start looking, synchronicities will bring you together. Then, practice resonance. And finally, learn to protect yourself, to switch off when needed. Now, for the final experiment that will definitively prove if you are a catalyst, for the next 7 days, every morning upon waking, set one specific intention. For example, today I will receive confirmation about a specific situation. Then, just observe. Don't force anything. Before sleeping, review your day and note this. If you experience 4 to 6 specific synchronicities a day, you are an active catalyst. Sechi or Mori, you are a high-intensity catalyst. Normal people will have 1 or 2 vague coincidences a week. Catalysts will have multiple, specific synchronicities every single day. You didn't choose to be a catalyst, but you are, and that comes with a responsibility. You are a portal between dimensions, walking in human form. As more catalysts awaken, the very structure of our reality will change. We are approaching a tipping point. In part Oi 2 will explore what happens when catalysts enter full resonance, the secret experiments that proved consciousness can alter probability. Try the 7-day experiment, prove it to yourself, and come back. Because if you are a catalyst, you have a crucial role to play in what is to come. And what's coming next will change everything. How did you get on with the 7-day experiment? Did you notice the If you started seeing more than 4 of these meaningful coincidences each day, then welcome to the club. What you're experiencing is real. It is a sign that you're reconnecting with reality on a much deeper level than you thought possible. But what if I told you that experiencing this alone is just scratching the surface? That when 2 or more conscious people synchronize their minds, truly extraordinary possibilities open up. Welcome to Part 8. Today, I am going to reveal some fascinating studies about collective consciousness and teach you a powerful technique called the Resonance Protocol. Let's start with one of the most incredible consciousness studies ever conducted, which took place at Princeton University. Dr. Roger Nelson coordinated what he called the Global Consciousness Project. It's a brilliant, yet simple idea. They placed 65 random number generators all around the world. These were pure machines, designed to do one thing: produce completely random sequences of numbers, like a digital coin flip. Then, they just monitored them, especially during major global events like the Olympics, presidential elections, and even tragedies. The discovery was absolutely remarkable. During moments when millions of people around the world were focused on the same event, the machines stopped being random. They started producing ordered, non-random patterns. Think about that. Order emerging from what should be pure chaos. One of the most significant examples was on September 11, 2001. The data showed massive deviations from randomness hours, asterisk before asterisk the first plane hit, the statistical probability of that being a coincidence, less than 1 in a billion. This project ran for 17 years, analyzing over 500 Globo events, and the conclusion was undeniable. A measurable correlation exists between our collective consciousness and the physical world. So, how does this connection actually work? We can think of it in 3 distinct levels. Level 1 is the natural connection. This happens when people are just in the same space with no conscious intent to synchronize. You've probably felt it. You're in a room, and conversations just flow with this unusual harmony. Ideas spark effortlessly. Synchronicities naturally amplify in this environment. Level 2 is the intentional connection. This is when a group decides to consciously synchronize, perhaps through a shared meditation or a group visualization. Here, things get more interesting. Manifestations start to happen more frequently. The right people seem to show up at just the right time. Opportunities that seemed out of reach begin to materialize out of nowhere. Then there's level 3, the deep connection. This is the rarest and most profound level. It's when a group enters a state of unified consciousness. The sense of individual separation dissolves, and you directly experience your inner connection with everyone else. It's a feeling of being part of one single conscious entity. This might sound like science fiction, but the scientific evidence is mounting. In 1993, the Maharishi study brought 4,000 advanced meditators to Washington, D.C. They all focused on creating peace. The results? During the 8-week experiment, violent crime in the city fell by a staggering 23.3%. Then there's Fritz Albert Popp's study from 2003, which proved that human cells emit light, called bio. His incredible discovery was that when people meditate in sync, their biophoton emissions actually coordinate with each other. It's like their cells are communicating. And in 2012, a study by Dean Radin had meditators worldwide focus their intention on samples of water. The result? The water's crystalline structure measurably changed. All these studies point to the same conclusion. Synchronized collective consciousness has a direct, measurable effect on physical matter. So, how can you tap into this power? I want to teach you the Resonance Protocol. This is a group meditation practice designed for positive growth and connection. First, you need a few prerequisites. A group of about 3 to 7 people who are all committed to personal growth. Find a quiet location, either early in the morning or late in the afternoon, and create a welcoming, comfortable environment. The protocol has 4 phases. Phase 1 is breath sync, and it lasts for 11 minutes. Sit in a circle and begin to breathe together. A simple box breath works perfectly. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold for 4. Don't force it. Just allow your breaths to naturally align. Phase 2 is intention, which takes 7 minutes. One person states a positive, specific intention for the group. For example, we cultivate inner peace and clarity. Then, each person in the circle silently repeats this intention to themselves, really feeling it. Phase 3 is the meditation itself, which lasts for 33 minutes. You simply sit in silence with your eyes closed. Let your mind be free. Don't try to control anything, just trust the collective harmony of the group. Finally, Phase 4 is anchoring, which is just 3 minutes long. A soft sound can signal the end of the meditation. Open your eyes, touch the ground to feel your connection to the earth, and say, I integrate this experience with gratitude. How do you know if it worked? If the practice was deep, you'll start to notice some clear signs in the days that follow. You'll experience greater mental clarity, an increase in relevant and you'll attract meaningful new connections. Creative ideas will flow effortlessly, and you'll have this wonderful sensation of being in the flow of life. Now, a few important guidelines to make this practice effective and safe. Do use positive intentions. Focus on what you want to create, not what you want to avoid. Do respect all participants and their experiences. Do try to practice regularly, maybe weekly or bi-weekly. And do take time to integrate your experiences gradually. On the other hand, don't try to force any specific outcome. Don't practice under the influence of any substances. Don't include people who are resistant or skeptical, as it can disrupt the group's energy. And don't have rigid expectations. Just be open to what unfolds. Ready for a little global experiment? We can create a simple practice for thousands of us to do simultaneously. Choose a date that feels meaningful to you. Then, at exactly 11:11 a.m. in your local time, just stop what you're doing for 3 minutes. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and visualize a world filled with consciousness, compassion, and connection. Feel gratitude for this moment. That's it. Just 3 minutes, with thousands of us in sync. Then, observe what happens in the next 48 hours. Look for increased synchronicities, meaningful encounters, feelings of hope and connection, and inspiring new ideas. You'll feel what it's like to be part of something much greater than yourself. The power of collective consciousness is one of the most fascinating frontiers of human potential. When people connect deeply with a shared, positive intention, extraordinary possibilities open up. You are not alone on this journey. Millions of people all over the world are seeking to live with more consciousness and connection. In part 9, we're going to ask a crucial question. Why now? Why is this specific moment in history so special for a collective awakening? We'll explore historical timelines, astronomical cycles, and why the years 2025 to 2027 might be some of the most decisive years for humanity. So, practice the resonance protocol with your friends. Participate in our collective experiment, and make sure you come back for part 9. You are about to understand why you are here, right now, at this exact moment in time. It's not an accident. It never was, until part 9. The timeline is revealing itself. Did you join the 11/11th experiment? Did you feel that wave of energy? If you did, you've already proven to yourself that you are not alone. Thousands of us synchronized our consciousness, and in that moment, something shifted in the collective field. But it leaves us with the biggest question of all. Why now? Why this mass awakening in this specific generation at this exact moment in history? The answer isn't random. It's a mathematical pattern that has been repeating for millennia, and the year 2025 is a critical point on that timeline. You are alive right now for a very specific reason, and it is not by chance. Let's start by looking at the hidden cycles of time. Ancient civilizations, the Mayans, the Egyptians, the Vedic cultures, the Sumerians, they all understood something we've forgotten. Time is cyclical, not a straight line. The Mayan calendar, for instance, didn't just end in 2012. It reset, a massive 5,125-year cycle concluded, and a new one began, unfolding in clear, predictable phases. From 2012 to 2019, we saw the disintegration of the old paradigm systems and beliefs began to crumble. From 2020 to 2025, we entered a period of what can only be described as fertile chaos. It's a time of collapse, yes, but also a time of rebirth, where new possibilities can take root. The window from 2025 to 2027 is a resonance window, a time when the veil between worlds thins dramatically. And finally, from 2028 to 2032, we will see the consolidation. This is where humanity will make a choice, a collective awakening, or a regression back into the old patterns. But this is just one cycle. Let's zoom out even further to the 26,000-year pattern. This is known as the precession of the or the Great Year. It's divided into 12 astrological eras, each lasting over 2,000 years. Right now, we are in the midst of a monumental transition, leaving the age of Pisces and entering the age of Aquarius. Historically, these shifts are always marked by chaos and profound transformation. Think about the last major transition from the age of Aries to Pisces. That period saw the fall of the Roman Empire and the rise of major world religions. Now, that same level of shift is happening on a global scale, but it's amplified by 8 billion interconnected minds. The internet, social media, it's all part of this. We are more connected than ever before, accelerating this transformation at a speed history has never witnessed. Now, let's focus on what makes this moment unique, the 2025 anomaly. It's not just one cycle reaching a peak, it's multiple cosmic cycles all converging at the exact same time. First, we have solar cycle 25, which is heading towards a peak of intense activity. This isn't just about sunspots. The increased solar radiation directly affects human biology, our DNA, and our consciousness. Second, Earth's magnetic field is changing. The magnetic poles are moving at an accelerated rate, and the field itself is weakening. This weakening field acts like a shield, lowering its defenses, allowing more cosmic data, more high-frequency energy from the galaxy to download into our planet and into us. Third, the Schumann resonance, the planet's own heartbeat, has been experiencing unprecedented spikes. For decades, it hovered around 7.83 Hz. Now, we're seeing spikes well above 16 Hz, sometimes even higher. This is literally forcing our collective consciousness to expand and resonate at a higher frequency. And finally, our entire solar system is currently moving through a denser, more energetically charged region of the galaxy. None of this is random. This is cosmic geometry, a celestial alignment creating the perfect storm for a planetary upgrade. And here's where it gets really interesting. Ancient prophecies from cultures all over the world seem to align perfectly with this modern scientific data. The Hopi prophecies speak of the transition from the fourth world to the fifth world, a time of purification and choice. The Vedic scriptures describe the end of the Kali Yuga, the darkest age, and the dawn of Satya Yuga, the age of truth. The Mayans marked this new era as the beginning of the sixth sun. Think about it. The calendar reset in 2012, and the number 13 is sacred to them, representing transformation. 2012 plus 13 years brings us directly to 2025. Even Gnostic and Buddhist traditions speak of a time of great revelation, when access to higher realms of consciousness becomes available to humanity. You have to ask yourself, are these all just incredible coincidences, or is this ancient science a map left for us by those who understood these great cosmic cycles? You don't just have to take their word for it. The signs are everywhere. If you know where to look, you can feel it, that subtle hum of change in the air. But here's the tangible proof. The rising number of UFO and UAP sightings, which are now being officially acknowledged by governments around the world. The widespread institutional collapse of credibility. People are losing faith in old systems, from politics to media to finance, because those systems are no longer serving us. We are seeing the rise of a technology of consciousness, with billions of people linked through the internet, sharing ideas and awakening together. New generations are being born who are more intuitive, more sensitive, and less susceptible to the old programming. And all over the globe, you see awakening movements, people demanding truth, sovereignty, and a new way of living. Something global is being activated, and we are all a part of it. All of this data, both ancient and modern, seems to converge on a critical decision point around the year 2027. This is the closing of the resonance window. Two primary scenarios lie before us. In scenario 1, a critical mass of humanity, some say as little as 10% truly awakens. This creates a powerful ripple effect in the collective field, shifting the entire planet into a new timeline. This is the beginning of the real golden age we've heard about. In scenario 2, fear dominates, the chaos becomes overwhelming, and the majority chooses to cling to the old, familiar structures of control and limitation. If this happens, we risk entering a new dark cycle, a regression that could last for centuries. The choice is collective, but it starts with each and every one of us. It starts with you. So, why are you here? You chose to incarnate at this precise moment. Your soul knew this would be the time of the Great Awakening. Whether you call yourself a catalyst, an awakened one, a light worker, Aura Starseed, you came here with a mission to remember who you are and to help anchor this new frequency on the planet. That feeling you've had your whole life, that sense of waiting for something big to happen, this is it. The wait is over. To help you navigate this, here's a simple anchoring protocol you can begin. For the first 11 days, just focus on confirming to yourself that you are a catalyst. Notice the synchronicities, the inner nudge for the next 11 days. From day 12 to 22, focus on connecting with others who are on this path. Find your soul tribe. And from day 23 to 23, practice weekly resonance, meditate, create, do whatever raises your vibration. The key here is not to convince anyone, it is to radiate. Be the frequency you wish to see in the world. To take this even further, I invite you to join a final 30-day experiment. It's simple, just 15 minutes a day. In the morning, take 5 minutes to affirm your conscious intention for the day. I am an anchor of light. I am here to witness and participate in the Great Awakening. In the afternoon, pause for 5 minutes. Just be still and observe the signs the universe is sending you. And at night, take 5 minutes to review the synchronicities of your day. What connections did you notice? After 30 days of this simple practice, you will see undeniable shifts in your reality. So what's coming next on this accelerated timeline? In the next 3 months, expect to see more responsive lights in the sky phenomena that interact with human consciousness. In the next 6 months, reports of spontaneous telepathy and heightened intuition will become more common. In the next 12 months, we may see children being born with abilities that science cannot explain. And within the next 2 years, prepare for a global event that shatters the material illusion for good, forcing everyone to question the nature of reality. It is no coincidence that you are here listening to this right now. You are part of a cosmic timetable that was set in motion eons ago. You are a neuron in the emerging collective mind of humanity. The years 2025 to 2027 represent the window of opportunity. After that, the window closes, and we as a species will either transcend to a new level of existence or we go back to sleep for another 26,000 years. In part 10, the final part of this series, I will reveal the final activation protocol. This is the method to accelerate your personal awakening and the last message that connects everything we've talked about. The schedule is on track. The window is open. The question is no longer why now. The question is, will you answer the call? Thank you for being here. If this resonated, please like, share, and subscribe to be notified for the final part. The journey is just beginning.
You've made it. This is the final protocol, the one you've been waiting for. A few months ago, at 3:33 a.m., I received a clear message. Awakening is now. It said codes existed to activate our true potential, and I was to teach them. I tested them. They work. Now it's your turn. Words are frequencies. When you speak these 7 codes with intention, you reprogram your reality. Start with these 2. In the morning, say, I am multi-dimensional consciousness in human form, and before you sleep, declare, I allow my abilities to awaken. I am ready. This is more than just words. It's a 33-day activation protocol. The first week will test you, but don't stop. Clarity, energy, and synchronicities are waiting on the other side. This is the start of everything. You are the answer. Are you ready to begin? Thanks for watching. Follow for the next steps on this journey.